Hi there, and welcome back. In the previous video, we got the camera to follow our player, and in this video, we're going to add physics to our game. There are several places where you can configure physics in Buildbox, and one of the ways you can configure physics is by selecting any of the assets in the asset panel. And when you select an asset in the option panel, under the start node, we have the physics option. And currently it's set to none. So let's see what options we have for physics. And we have none, static, dynamic, and kinematic. If you don't want any physics collisions of any of the asset, you can set it to none, and that asset will not have any physics. Static is what you would use for something that will be stationary in your game, meaning that it will not move. Dynamic physics is the one that will allow outside forces to act upon a dynamic object. So if you want gravity to act on your object, you would use the dynamic physics. Kinematic physics is almost identical to static physics. The only difference is you can actually move an object that has kinematic physics, and it will work correctly. But if you move a static object, the physics will not work correctly. So for our player, since we want the gravity to affect it and for it to be able to collide with other objects, we'll set it to dynamic. Once we set it to dynamic, we can see lots more options that are appeared here, and we'll look at those later in this series. But let's click preview and see what happens now. And you can see now that our player just fell down because the gravity is affecting it. You notice that our ground didn't stop our player. It just continued falling. And it's because our ground currently does not have any physics on it. So the challenge for you before you start the next video is to select appropriate physics for ground and for the enemy before you start the next video. And like we mentioned, you can select the asset and go to physics and choose the one that you think is supposed to be used for it. Also, watch our physics video that demonstrates use of every type of physics and how they interact between each other. Once you complete that challenge, you can move on to the next video. And our next video is going to be on adding jump for our player.